Hello and welcome to Battlefleet Goth Armada 2 and our look at the Imperial Navy's skills and upgrades. So this is a little bit different than number 1, which had obviously separate ones for each ship. Here these apply separately. Skills are only to your admiral ship, to your flagship. Upgrades various depending on the upgrade. Also, you only unlock all of them once you hit level 10 with the faction. So at the beginning you start with 4 skills, the first 4, and 5 upgrades. You unlock a skill every other level and an upgrade every second level. Also at the top you'll notice your choice of sub-faction. All this does is change the colour scheme on your ships. So let's jump into our skills. So first up we have Supercharged Void Shield. This is pretty much just invincibility for your shield. Really good at stopping some burst damage. That's about it. Plasma Bomb does damage based on how close they are to the center point. While they got the shields up, I mean it's a good way of getting rid of some shields, but not overly effective. Definitely much better if you've already got rid of the shields. Relatively small radius, most people can avoid it. Olga Probe. So this is pretty much the same as it was in game 1. You send it out, gives you a nice detection radius around where it lands. If you manage to get it onto a ship, it'll stick to that ship for 2 minutes. Quite useful, especially early game, and also especially if you don't want to run launch bays and use the interceptors to scout, which I don't, so can be quite useful. Disruption Bomb. So this is actually quite a large radius and will take down shields. It'll stop that Necron hull cauterization, so it's quite useful. Problem is, because it is a large area of effect, and because often once the engagement really gets into it, you can end up with your fleet and their fleet quite close together. It can be hard to actually get this off without also getting 1 or 2 of your own ships. But skilled use can prove useful, as obviously with no shields, you take them down quicker. Also, quick note on the bombs, they are a 3-use maximum. Right. We have our Stasis Bomb. So this is quite useful. Decent area of effect, and it stops ships. Very good at helping you to control the battlefield, especially useful in trying to stop those faster fleets from getting away from you, and can be used in conjunction with the other bombs and abilities that you might want a ship to just be standing still for, so you can pound them, such as Nova Cannons. Auger Disruptor. Now I just want to talk a little bit about this one a bit more because I've seen it being used and I'm not sure people fully understand how it actually works. So it will, as it says, get rid of the detection range off of ships. But if you have already been spotted, it will not help you. You will not suddenly become invisible unless you're an escort or light cruiser running silent. Otherwise, they can still shoot you, they can still see you. So this is best used just before your fleets are about to meet, so that they lose their detection range, you still have yours, you can see them, but they can't see you. Now saying that, other abilities like the Olga Probe, like escort ship scan ability, interceptors, all that sort of stuff will still reveal you. So I question its overall usefulness, but certainly I think used correctly with the right fleet, this does have the potential to be quite a powerful ability. Probably slightly above my skill level if I'm being honest, but it is there for someone who wants to try and do that. We have the Emperor's Tarot. So this is quite literally click on any red dot and that ship is revealed for 90 seconds. They can't go running silent, they can't go hiding in cloud. 90 seconds of you being able to see them. Obviously particularly useful against Dark Eldar, who have a habit of trying to run away from you. They still have a pretty decent speed advantage, but if you've got the range or you've got other things that can keep up with them, this is certainly quite useful against them. Can also prove useful if you see someone about to duck into a cloud or something as well. And Microwarp Jump, good classic here. Chuck it on your bigger ships that you want to use as your fleet ships, like a battleship or whatever, and you can certainly surprise the enemy by suddenly taking what they thought was an isolated battleship and moving it somewhere else, or they suddenly just got a battleship rock up next to them. Certainly something that can concern people. So it has its uses, but overall, go and watch my video about the ships and you'll see that I'm not the biggest fan of battleships overall. Still, if you plan on using them, and once you do get to level 9, this is available for you. Now, upgrades. Navigational shields. Travel through everything without issue, essentially, apart from the actual asteroid things with cities on them and whatnot. Everything else, go to your heart's content. Very useful, and certainly one that I pick early on before other upgrades open up. Improve auger array. So as you can see, this applies only to your escort ships and light cruisers, but increasing that identification range can be quite useful. And my understanding is this does stack with the Cobra Widowmaker's ability that already has an increased identification range. So very, very useful for making sure you're getting a wide area identification. Power ram. Plan on ramming the enemy? You want this. Again, go have a look at my video about the ships and you'll see that the Imperial Navy has a decent number of ships with rams. And this can increase that significant damage even more. Although, I have to admit, can be difficult sometimes to get those rams off if an enemy's paying attention and microwing their fleet well. Auxilary shield capacitors. I was using this from level 1 through to level 10. And I only stopped using it at level 10 because of the level 10 ability, which we'll get to in a second. Increase shield regeneration speed by 25% is just awesome. Your shields come back so much quicker. It is really helpful in keeping you alive. Right, Auron pattern weaponaries. So this applies only to your flagship and gives you that extra range on your weapons. Because it only applies to the flagship, it's certainly not something I like to run, as I prefer to use upgrades that apply to more of my fleet. But if you're going for maybe a very elite force and you've got your flagship and only 1 or 2 other big ships, this could maybe see some use. But overall, I like to keep all my ships together because once a ship becomes separated, which having increased range would potentially do to a ship, enemies tend to be very good at picking it off. And with Imperial Navy, losing your flagship and that morale that it brings, plus your skills, can actually be quite detrimental. Short burn torpedoes. If you're going to be going torpedo heavy, you want this. It means that they have less time to try and take them out before they hit, which means you should be getting more torpedoes hitting your target. Very, very useful. Emission Dissipator. Another one that I run with pretty much as soon as I get it. It is just so useful on your escort ships and light cruisers, especially going around and capturing points, just speeding from point to point. And they don't get revealed. It keeps them in running silence. It is just so good. Calexis Assassin, another one that only applies to your flagship and only on lightning strikes. 500 morale loss is huge, but overall I feel this isn't worth it compared to most of the other upgrades here. And here it is, our armor piercing ammunition, the big macro damage dealing ability. If you plan on running macros and you plan on getting close, this is the upgrade for you. very good at helping you take out the enemy that much quicker. And finally, Agrippina pattern void shields. So this is what replaced my recharge, because what's better than having them recharge quicker? Not losing them at all, or losing them very, very slowly, which is what this does for you. 25 armor values to shields is very useful. So that's it. That's all the skills and upgrades. The next video in this series will be one covering off on some basic strategies and tactics, certainly my preferred ones. And until then, catch you later.